Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Advice Guru podcast. I'm delighted to be joined by someone today who I'm sure many of you will know, and perhaps many of you won't. So we really like talking to new people and finding out about them. So without further ado, I'll introduce you to Gemma Brown. Hello, Gemma. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you, Stuart. How are you?
Yeah, really good. It was nice to catch up with you a couple of weeks ago at the Silverstone Air Day. That was really cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a really good day. It was really nice to see so many advisors all in one place. So yeah, it was a really good day for us.
Yeah, cool. So, Gemma, tell us what you do then. For those on listening to the podcast who don't know you or your role, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I am business development manager at Pure. So I cover the Southwest and Wales. So you'll probably find me on the M5 quite a lot.
Yeah.
Quite a big patch. So I sort of cover all of Wales. I go across to as far as Southampton and then all the way down into Cornwall. So some
Wow.
quite nice areas
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
summer.
You got some beautiful areas. Yeah, you're going to be looking forward to the Cornwall traffic in summer months. But
Yes.
where's home? Where are you commuting from?
So I live in Worcestershire. So I basically live sort of right in the middle of both. So it works out quite well. Because I basically live on the M5. So
Okay.
I'm about 5 minutes away from there. So it's really well placed. I can be most places I can be, it's a lot within an hour, hour to 2 hours. So yeah, it's not too bad. Um and yeah, it's quite nice. It's quite a nice balance really because you have it's really nice to speak to people and speak to different people. Um, and then it's also quite nice you get that sort of time in the car on your own, listening to podcasts and audiobooks, which is quite nice.
You'll be listening to yourself next week.
Yes, that's it. Maybe I will do that. Not sure.
Yeah. So it's a
Yeah.
little bit strange listening to yourself for the first time, but yeah, you do get used to it.
Yes. Yeah,
So
but it's that whole thing as well when when you're on the phone and then you can hear your voice come back at you. That's just the worst, isn't it? I hate that.
yeah, it's a bit bizarre, but yeah. So it's Droitwich's hometown. And what's that?
Yes.
Living there with family?
Yeah. So I've got so with my husband, I've got two children, they're 12 and 10, and then we've got a cocker spaniel and a fluffy cat as well. So life's quite busy.
Oh yeah, I bet. So how do you manage to fit all of family life in with a life on the road that you BDMs have then?
It's basically just we just on a Sunday we'll sort of be where because my husband he works in Gloucester, so he's generally in there and comes back, but then sometimes he'll be away as well. So it's just making sure that we've got everything in the diary.
Yeah.
And my kids are at an age now as well, which is so we have it slightly different where we are. We have middle school rather than secondary and primary. So they're
Okay.
both in middle school now, so they can walk home.
Yeah.
But generally, where I am, I can be back. I'm usually back by 5 o'clock anyway, so
Okay.
it's not like I'm out all the time. I do stay over, but I don't stay out. I have to stay over too often, so it works quite well. But I also do quite like staying over because then it's peaceful.
Yeah, no,
So every
absolutely.
now and then I get that, but yeah, it's just diaries, coordinating the diaries. If something's missing out of that diary, it all just goes to pot. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I have to
Do
make sure
you have
that's
a
all okay.
family diary then? Do the kids put stuff in the diaries or how does that?
Well, we put the kids' stuff in, but then we have the shared Apple calendar, so it's just
Yeah.
if something's not in there, it's not happening. So yeah, we're quite strict on that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's quite funny because our middle child finished his GCSEs yesterday and
Oh wow, so it's been a busy
he's
busy couple of weeks for you then.
very busy.
Gosh.
Yeah. So I've literally just gone upstairs before we started this to wake him up because he's got a haircut in an hour. So, it's just relentless, isn't it? The
Yeah.
balance between work life and family life. But, it is why we do it, isn't it? So it all makes
Yeah.
sense. So come on then, tell us about you becoming a BDM because I know a little bit about it, but you haven't been a BDM for years and years like some of the BDMs. You're fairly new to it, is that right?
Yeah, so I've been with Pure now for I think it's just coming up to 18 months. So yeah, really quite new.
Yeah.
Um so prior to that I was an advisor. So I did that for I think it worked out it was about 8 years.
Yeah.
My career I just kind of fell into finance really, which I think listening to a few of these podcasts, I think quite a lot of people have done the same.
Yeah.
Um So yeah, so I ages and ages ago, I was working at Empower. We did the whole let's go traveling. So we did that. We came back and it was oh dear, we're back. We need to just quickly get some jobs. So we just did that. Not long after that, I found out that I was having my oldest. So life kind of sort of was not on hold necessarily, but it was just like maternity leave and all of that.
Sure.
I went back to work after maternity leave, and at that point, I was still working in this transport office, which was fine. Um, and then the company that I worked for before, they were advertising for an apprentice. Obviously, I was a little bit old to be an apprentice, but I thought I'm just going to ask the question and just see, what happens. So they wanted somebody to be in the office and then to do the exams as a mortgage advisor. But it really fit well because the office hours were 9 to 2, and then evening appointments and things like that. So I was a little bit cheeky and I just sort of said, that sounds like something I'd like to do. And they actually sort of changed their plan a little bit because I was that little bit older than some of the others in the office. It
Yeah.
worked out quite a good sort of dynamic. So I did that. Did my mortgage exam, very quickly did the equity release exam after that as well. So I qualified and then I was advising. Um, and then I got to the point where, again, just thinking about my kids and their change in school, it was sort of well, they don't need me to pick them up from school anymore. The school run is different. They go to school earlier. I'd have more time. Do I still want to be doing 9 till 2? What am I going to do with those hours when I'm just on my own, waiting for the kids to finish school? And I saw the BDM role, Pure, kind of by accident. I wasn't really actively looking, but I was just at a sort of a bit of a crossroads thinking, do I want to do this forever? I was thinking, do I want to do my pension exams?
Yeah.
It was that kind of, and then equity release is always my favourite part of it. So I applied, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. Like Pure as a company, it's a great company to work for. Everybody's just lovely.
Yeah.
Um, it was kind of a bit of a breath of fresh air moving across. And I love this role as well because I think it works well having been an advisor. So I kind of understand, it's not easy getting your own leads. It's not easy putting yourself out there and finding all that stuff. So I kind of understand that. And I understand when there's issues with, you know, cases or solicitors. I've seen it from that side. So I get the frustrations from both sides. So it's really good, I think, to have had that experience beforehand. And also as well, I've been in customers' houses talking to them. I've had clients crying to me how, you deal with all sorts, don't you, when you're advising. So I think it works really well to have that in common, I guess, with the advisors that I'm
Yeah.
speaking to.
Yeah. Yeah. It gives you a lot of credibility and relatability as well, doesn't it? Because I think if a BDM is coming down and they haven't perhaps walked in an advisor's shoes, then it's really difficult for an advisor to hear theory that someone hasn't actually tried or practiced themselves. But if you're being relatable and sincere, it just goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And I think I think it makes sense for others as well. Like, I know that because Leeds is the head office for Pure, so obviously it's not anywhere near me. So obviously all the underwriters and things are in Leeds. And I know that Karen, the North BDM, I think she's had an underwriter go out with her once on broker visits and things like that as well. So I think it's really good for others to get that other side view as well.
Yeah.
Because being with clients, being with brokers, it's quite different, isn't it, really, to just an office based job. You don't really see it when you're just sort of processing, addresses and things like that. It's
Yeah.
not quite the same as being out and about.
No, absolutely. I think you can't beat just sitting down with an advisor and saying, okay, so how is it?
Yeah,
Yeah, on a phone call or a Zoom, you perhaps don't get that reality.
yeah,
And I know that, I'm particularly impressed by some of the visits I see you doing. Didn't I see you down with Stuart Borthwick and Mike Jones and a couple of
yes,
others out on the moors the other day?
yeah, yeah. That was nice. I've done
What
that a
what
couple of times
inspires
now.
that? And what does that bring you different from normal
Yeah,
visits?
well, I think I love being outdoors, so that's ideal for me. So as soon as someone mentions something like that, but um, I think you get a different sort of meeting when you're just walking and chatting. Um, then you do, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love sitting having a coffee and a chat, but I think it just kind of opens up different conversations. It's not I think there's a with like mental health and things, isn't there something where if you sit side by side with somebody, you get more of an honest conversation rather than if you're looking at someone face to face. It's that kind of thing, isn't it? It's just a different dynamic. So I've done other walks where I'd walked an advisor's dogs with him
Yeah.
through woods, which was really nice.
Oh,
But it's just getting outside, isn't it? It's quite good. Um, I haven't done any sort of, paddleboard. I was having a conversation yesterday with an
yeah.
advisor. We're talking about paddleboarding. I thought,
Okay.
oh, maybe this could be the next meeting that I do.
Yeah, stand-up
Um,
paddle boarding on Plymouth
yeah,
Hoe or
but,
something, is it? Yeah.
but yeah, I think it's just nice to do things that it doesn't necessarily always have to be just, the sitting down,
Yeah.
that formula. I think anything works. You're still getting the same out of it. You're still building a relationship. You're chatting about things as you go, and I think learning about each other as well, because it's not then just all you learn about. A lot of my notes and things are, oh, their dog, they've got a cocker spaniel, their dog's this. So you learn different things about people, and then I think that really helps with the relationship building for this role, which is important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's a real skill. And it's interesting because I've done a lot more with pure retirement in the last 18 months, both from an advisor point of view and with Advice Guru. But
Yes.
I have noticed changes within the company, and they're great. That how would I describe pure retirement? I, there's lenders out there that are corporate machines that want to lend, that everything they do is towards hitting that target. There probably are targets within Pure, like there are for every company, because every company needs that. But the image seems a lot more, how can I say, friendly, not so hard nosed, more charitable, client focused, advisor focused. Does that make sense, or am I
Yes,
off the
it
mark?
does. And interesting you say that as well, because when I was sort of applying for this role and you sort of go on the website, don't you, and you have a little look and you do a bit of a LinkedIn stalk of the people that are around and you think, is it really like that? And it didn't take long to realize that yes, it is like that. Um, so yeah, it's quite close knit within the teams. It is. And we do volunteer days and things like that. So we get time to do volunteer days to give things back. And, the meetings where it is having a walk and things, it's encouraged. So yeah, it definitely is. It's really good that you get that perception from sort of outside
Yeah,
looking in.
yeah, absolutely. And it is talking, to the team, as I have spoken to them a lot more, obviously led very well by Scott.
Yeah.
But yeah, just every interaction that I have is really
Yeah.
positive. The
And
new website as
I think
well.
what we do well as well is, so we have the biggest intermediary team in the market. So we have each region has two BDMs. So we have a field BDM and a telephone based BDM. Um, so there's the support there for the advisors. There's always somebody they can speak to. So, I think that works really well. And I think the fact that we still like to do face to face meetings, not everyone, some people do still prefer the teams, but I think there's still a lot to be said for the face to face, especially like you said before, sort of going down to Cornwall. Obviously, I can't go to Cornwall every week, but
No.
you know, it's nice to do that and see advisors who probably don't have that contact as well. So
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that has been reflected in what I've seen from Pure over the last
that's
12
good.
months. I think Melanie Godley, who's I think she's marketing director, I
She is,
just
yeah,
find her very, she understands us as advisors. She understands Guru as a company and where we're going. And I'll talk to her about things and she'll say, do you know what? I was thinking about that. And vice versa. And I know Stuart
yeah,
Wilson feels the same. And to have that sort of relationship with someone is really cool. And I know you and I were talking before we came on air about your new website, which I've just been having a look at over the last few days. And actually, it's so intuitive and logical and geared towards what advisors are after.
yeah,
Um, and
yeah.
obviously, sorry, I was just going to ask you, you've become known for kind of your marketing toolkit. and which no other lenders really have. But you were telling me more about that. It's not just a marketing toolkit. So yeah, tell me some more about that.
Yeah, so the new website, I think it's been a couple of weeks now that that's been out.
Yeah.
We've had some really good feedback, but um, what we do when we do have our meetings is all of the BDMs will sort of listen to the feedback from advisors, feed that back, and then a lot of that then does go back into marketing. What are they seeing? What do they actually want? Um, and yeah, so the advisor support that we do. So our toolkit is, I think it's brilliant. It's marketing material, as in you can just order leaflets if you want to do leaflet drops and things like that. But a lot of it as well is actual support that you can use with clients. So you can print off, we can print it off for you and send it out. So you can completely white label it. Looks like you've made it. But it's kind of guide to equity release. So it explains what equity release is. So you've had that initial contact with client. You've planted a seed. They want something to go away and read. So you can actually give them a brochure. And that the kind of brochures that we're making would cost advisors quite a lot of money. But every advisor who's registered with us gets access to this. So you don't have to be doing a certain amount of cases or anything like that. You just have to fill out a form, put your logo in, and then we'll print it out, send you a proof, and then post it out to you in a box. But yeah, those are really good. There's like referral cards, things like that that you can use. Obviously, there are posters if you've got office space and things. Um, but something else we're trying to do a lot of at the moment as well is give advisors information. So we do a quarterly report, which is every quarter, would you believe? So we do that. And I think this report is brilliant because it kind of gives advisors an idea of who's who's releasing money at the moment, why are they releasing money? And then from that you can kind of gauge, well, okay, well actually, so the industry at the moment, 50% of the single applicants that you're having, it's single females, for example. So where am I going to find those clients? So we had an advisor recently, and she'd found like a knit and natter group in a cafe, and thought, oh yeah, that's where I need to be putting that advert. So it kind of triggers, where are those people?
Yeah. So
Why they're releasing the money as well.
yeah.
Are people releasing more money for care at the moment, or are they releasing it? So it kind of gives you those figures as to think where you're targeting your market. So it's not just, I think we said this the last week, didn't we? It's kind of, there's lots of equity release advisors, equity release adverts at golf clubs,
Yeah.
which is fine. But it's, where else are the people
No,
that you need
that's
the
yeah.
but
That
we're
unique
also,
insight. I love that idea that advisors can actually gear their marketing towards current trends that you're
yeah.
finding for them, and you'll
Yeah.
pay for that marketing. So that's kind of the full circle.
Yeah, exactly. And you might, if you're just sort of in your own bubble and you're just doing cases, you don't necessarily know that, do you? You don't necessarily know why people are releasing the money. And it's also, I find quite often that we're we're always talking about the stigma that's attached to equity release with clients. But I think there's a barrier within the industry as well. So you've got financial advisors, mortgage advisors who might have the qualification, they might not, but they don't understand equity release enough to be able to say, "Oh, go and have a chat with Stuart,"
Yeah.
because it's kind of a, if they don't like it, they're not going to then recommend it, or if they don't realise that it's changed and that, oh, now you can make payments on an equity release case because a client said, "Don't talk to me about that. I want to be able to pay it." Well, actually, you can. So it's kind of the barrier between them having that conversation. So we're trying to put some stuff together as well for that purpose. So it's helping you to speak to introducers, break down barriers with introducers, that kind of thing, because we're seeing that quite a bit.
Yeah, it's
Um,
really clever actually, because it's very easy for an advisor or an advice firm to focus all their marketing on clients.
yes,
And actually that's a part of the market, but there's a
yeah,
huge part of the market that's already seeing those clients, is
yeah,
already having financial um, conversations with those clients. And
yeah,
if they just had another part of their armory, their toolkit that was more sensible about what modern day equity release is, its lifetime
yeah.
mortgages, that they could perhaps help support you get more leads as an advisor.
Yeah, exactly. And we've got quite a few case studies as well, which I think are useful because, sometimes I did it when I was an advisor. You'd go to networking meetings and no one really knows what you're saying until you've had that one to one with them later and you've explained what it is. But I think case studies, if you can go armed with I dealt with this last week and it was this client. No one knows that you necessarily didn't do that as a case, but you've then planted a seed with somebody to say, oh yeah, that sounds like these clients that, a family law solicitor, for example, and you've got a divorce case being used for equity release. There's a
Yeah.
divorce lawyer sitting in the room. You've just talked about a case where you helped someone do that. Oh yeah, that sounds like them. And I think it's that, isn't it? I think
Yeah,
it's a bit of a
absolutely.
step. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that the advisors we've got on Advice Guru are using our learning zone, not just to help their clients. They're learning, teaching their introducers
Mm.
more about what our market is. And I know that Melanie was very keen to sponsor our learning zone because
Yes.
exactly what you've said is we need to educate advisors, but not necessarily equity release advisors. Um,
Yes.
so I think that's really important. And another topic that you and I were discussing at the conference, and I think with any industry, there are trailblazers. There are ones that are doing it really well. There are ones that are being really successful. And I don't think we're particularly good in our industry of actually going beneath the bonnet of those advisors, of those companies, of those networks, and just saying, right, actually, you're one of the top three advisors, companies, and networks at lifetime mortgages for this year. This year is still pretty tough.
Mhm.
What is it specifically that you're doing that is making you successful, that is enabling you to help more over 50s clients in releasing the equity from their property? And I thought it was something that was missing at the AIR conference last week. And I spoke to a couple of people there who are those people I look up to, who are those people who are being really successful. And they
Yeah.
were like, yeah, I'm here, I'm having a look, but no one's asking me what I'm doing, and I'm doing really well. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, why aren't we asking these people? Is that something Pure could do?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's that whole thing, isn't it? Where is it like a fear? Maybe if you're sharing what you're doing, then you're going to lose your clients. But like, I think there's plenty of them out there, isn't there? That
Yeah,
it's good to share knowledge and share. But I think what we like to do as well is, and again, because we've got the intermediary support team, we treat all advisors kind of the same, as in we'll go and see advisors who are just doing a couple of cases a year to try and help them to have,
yeah,
think about other ways they can get more. And then we'll obviously support the advisors who are doing lots of cases a year. But because we're having those conversations with all the different types of advisors, all of those conversations then feed into all the other meetings. So
okay,
we'll be thinking,
yeah,
oh, I spoke to somebody in Wales the other day. They said they were doing this, and it all kind of links. So I suppose we kind of do
yeah,
that
yeah,
naturally,
okay. Well,
having
that's
so
really
many
interesting.
conversations.
Yeah. So all of the information is available, but it's in pockets. And I think maybe it's a branding and marketing thing then. So Mel will be able to help out us with this. So you guys are having conversations with the most successful advisors, and you know what they're doing to be successful. But you perhaps, when you're talking to a slightly less successful or a newer or a less experienced advisor, unless you're badging it as, all the TikTok things I see, this is the hack.
Yeah.
This is going to make you successful. Listen to me for 2 minutes and you will win. All these, because we've become a 2 minute concentration
Yes, that's true.
world,
Yeah.
haven't we?
Mhm.
So perhaps it's down to the branding of the expertise rather than the expertise itself. Maybe there's something there.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what we're sort of trying to put together. And I think I said to you, maybe this was at the conference, where we see a lot of firms where you've got a mortgage, an active release advisor, and then a mortgage advisor, then say four mortgage advisors within the firm. But
Yeah,
the active release advisor is really trying hard to go outside of that firm to get cases. Whereas actually, have
yeah,
you actually spoken to the four advisors that you've got in the firm? And I think it's just you know, yes, they probably do sit next to and talk to each other, but give them some case studies and tell them some examples of what you're actually doing, and vice versa, because it could turn out that one of your cases actually goes there. But I think there is a bit of a gap, and I think the knowledge sharing, because it is tricky, isn't it? Because I think it's perseverance, because you know that you go to an introducer, you're not just going to go and see an introducer, give them your business card, and all of a sudden they're going to start sending you loads of work. It doesn't work like that. So I think the fact that it is a bit of a slow burn sometimes, that maybe disheartens people and think, oh, that didn't work, I won't do that again. Whereas actually, you give them your business card, give them a call next week, and keep talking to them. I think that's something that, and I think it is hard as well, because when you're on your own, um, and I've done it as well. I've been to networking events where I've gone there and just thought, oh, that was useless.
And
But then,
yeah,
actually, when you reframe it, you think, okay, well, actually, there were those people in there. First of all, yes, who do they know? And you're thinking clients. But then when you start thinking, actually, it's the introducers.
yeah,
We're not there to look for clients. We're there to look for the introducers. And it's sort of thinking about that as well, isn't it? Not getting disheartened from the first one,
yeah.
which is easy to do.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think it's creating a plan and sticking to it, and it isn't going to work instantly. It will
Mm.
take months. And those that stick to it do really well.
Yeah.
But then there are those that just buy leads and they do that
Yes.
really well and they do
Yeah.
that really consistently. So yeah, I think we perhaps need to put together a who's doing really well, what are they doing,
Yeah.
how can that be replicated by other people so that those within the market who aren't doing so well start to do better.
Yeah.
And it's that I think I probably say at every podcast, the rising tide lifts all ships because we want and need a bigger market. And to get that
Yeah.
bigger market, we need firstly the advisors who are doing really well to do even better, and those advisors who are doing okay to do great, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And we need more advisors. So that's the
Yes.
my last question to you then is how do we get more advisors into this market?
I think the key to all of this really is conversations. I think we need to just talk about it, within firms, um I hear quite often where people will say that you need to be a certain age to be an active release advisor, and I just don't think that's the case. I think if you're confident in what you're talking about, if you know the products, you've got that rapport already with clients, I don't necessarily think it matters.
Yeah,
Um, who you're dealing with. But I think the more conversations that we can have, and I think that's what we're trying to put together at the moment, is putting quarterly reports together, guides together, just things that you can go away and talk to somebody else about, talk to an introducer, tell them how great equity release is, and then it kind of, hopefully it will then snowball, because then
yeah,
everyone's talking about it, and we're talking about it because it's a great thing. It's not something that we need to hide behind. So I think the key is talking about it, talking about equity release, about what it is, about how it's changed, about how, um, a lot of people are now moving towards lifetime mortgage rather than equity release. So I think it's just, I think still sort of breaking down barriers almost, isn't it? But with not just with clients,
yeah, yeah. No,
with people
totally.
here.
So where's the next year going to take you then? What do you think if you look back in a year's time? What's the next things for you and for Pure?
Yeah, so I think for me, I've only obviously been in the role for a year, so I think I've still got quite a lot. Our areas are quite big, so although I've spoken to a lot of advisors, I think there's still a lot to be done. I think, like you said, getting those advisors who maybe aren't doing much to just think about doing an extra case, or thinking about other ways that they could do equity release.
Yeah,
Also, bringing other advisors in when you're in the firms, talking to the other mortgage advisors as well, because obviously we talk to the equity release advisors, but there's others as well. And again, I think it comes down to then encouraging others to join the industry. So I think for me, it's still kind of making headway with my patch, let's say.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Oh,
still feel quite new as well. I still feel,
okay.
it was kind of at the air event last week, sorry. I went last year and I didn't really know many people. Also, it was really nice this year that
Yeah,
people were coming over and recognised me, and that it was
yeah,
really good. But I still do feel I don't really know as many as others, let's say, some of the other BDMs. So I still feel like a bit of a newbie. But yeah, I
that's your
think
challenge in the next 12 months. More dog walking, Moors walks and
yes,
come to
yeah, and
tea.
You know,
Spreading the
I'm
word.
always sort of I'm always up for doing any crazy challenges. So if anybody listens to this wants to walk, run, paddleboard, I'm up for anything.
Well, there you go. I think that's a brilliant place to end. So, Gemma, I really look forward to hearing about those adventures on a
Yes.
future podcast. Thank you
Yeah.
very much for joining me.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure.